So I think the world today, which is driven largely by advancements in technology, has become inextricably interconnected across distances and other boundaries. And there have been a lot of the books, a lot of the different publications. And if you may have remembered the book called "The World Is Flat," it was by Thomas Friedman. I think this book was published in 2005, and he talked about how the world has become a level playing field because now the individual sitting anywhere can interact with other individuals sitting in any other part of the world. So in the same case, if you think about the pandemic, what pandemic has brought to our lives, many employees today are still working from home, connecting virtually. That means that the person can be sitting in a home in the USA or any other part of the world. That the world doesn't make a difference.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today, we're going to look at recruiting and retaining a global, talented workforce. So when you think about the challenges you have as your company is beginning to scale, are you looking globally? Are you looking at a place beyond just next door or within 30 minutes drive? Well, it's a reality that we want the best people to work in our organizations. We need to have the right ways to recruit and retain a global workforce if that's the case, because truly the best talent in the world may not be within driving distance to your headquarters, if you will. So today we're going to have a special guest. He is the CEO of CareCloud. They grew extremely fast, and they're over 4,000 and now publicly traded. So they've kind of crossed this huge threshold of being on the NASDAQ market. But we're meeting with Hadi Chaudhry, and Hadi and I talk about recruiting specifically, and we look at some of the aspects of what does it take to recruit talented people, but then we also look at retention of those talented people and the global workforce. Now, one of the things that he unpacks is the real advantage you have when you have the ability to give ownership to not just one level down or two levels down within the company, but across the top levels of the company, that really people have a sense of ownership and what that does for the organization, whether it be recruiting and retaining a global talented workforce. So all that is unpacked in today's conversation. One of the things that I'd love to share with you is some of the work that we've done that is really powerful is an assessment of the leadership performance of your current organization. I've done this with clients for years, but what we're doing is actually slicing that off, pulling it forward inside of our conversations and giving it away for free. So if you're listening to this on my voice, to qualify for that, all you have to do is have a company that's growing, and you must be the CEO or a founder of that company of some sorts. And we will have a conversation about the leadership performance assessment, and we'll walk you through 7 dials of leadership, see where you're ranking. We'll qualify you and quantify you in different aspects of that so that you understand where to prioritize and where to focus as your company continues to grow and scale. Now, we've done this for years and years and years. We'd love to share it with you. If you're interested, just go to genehammett.com and schedule your call today. And all you have to do is let me know that you heard it on the podcast. That triggers the fact that you don't have to pay for this. It's a $1,000 value, if you will, but we are going to give it to you for free just for being a listener. And if you really are interested in leadership performance assessment, then all you have to do is go to genehammett.com and schedule your call. Now, here's the interview with Hadi. Hadi, how are you?
Good, Gene. Thank you. How are you?
I am great. We're going to have an incredible conversation about recruiting and retaining a global talent force. I'd love for you to share us about your company, CareCloud.
I'm looking forward to, thank you. And Gene, thank you very much for having me on your podcast. And actually, just congratulations on your 1001, the first podcast. You just finished your 1000th podcast. So congratulations.
Well, it's a big milestone. I appreciate you being a part of this journey. Tell us about CareCloud. What are you guys up to, and what are you really proud of there?
Sure, I'll be happy to. So CareCloud, it's a publicly traded company. We are listed on NASDAQ Stock Exchange. We provide tech-enabled revenue cycle management services in healthcare industry. In addition to that, we have a full suite of proprietary software solutions, including EHR, practice management, patient engagement solutions, digital health solutions, including chronic care management and remote patient monitoring. We are serving over 40,000 providers in all 50 states of United States. And our clients include 1 to 5 docs, single location medical practices to multi-location medical practices with multiple thousands of providers. We do also work with health systems on platform agnostic revenue cycle management services, primarily in the ambulatory and outpatient space. We employ roughly about 4,000 plus employees globally. And from the little history perspective, the company was founded in 1999 as a conventional medical billing and transcription company. And actually, our name of the company at that time was MTBC, or Medical Transcription Billing Corporation. So we started with a vision of transforming this RCM industry into a tech-enabled RCM and providing an end-to-end, fully integrated solutions for medical practices as a very cost competitive in a cost competitive way. So that's a little bit about us as a company.
So healthcare has changed over the last couple of years. I'd love for you just to give us an idea of what you think are the big innovations that are coming on the horizon as it relates to healthcare technology.
A great question. Gene, if you think about it, let's say the 10 years or the decade starting year 2000, from 2000 to 2010, this was a year in between. There was a lot of initiative initially by President Bush and then later on by President Obama towards digitization of the medical records of the patients in the United States. The requirements were formed for a more certified a system which can meaningfully be used, calling a EHR system, or the practice management system. So this 10 years were more towards understanding the requirements coming for those systems, and then the practices started to think about implementing those systems. The second 10 years were more towards between 2011 and 2020, were more towards adoption of those EHR systems, how to meaningfully use those EHR systems, how to start prescribing medication as electronically versus on a piece of paper. So there were incentives. It was a carrot and stick approach. So if for a certain number of years, if the practices have started to use the EHR, they will be incentivized, and then later on the penalties kick in. The future, the way we think directionally the whole thing is going, is more towards the value-based care models, preventive medications, with the help of whether it's the remote patient monitoring or chronic care management or the digital health. This is where the next era is to go. And especially towards this AI, and with the recent development over the last probably 6, 7, 8 months, there will be a more and more leveraging of the AI into the health sector space as well.
I can definitely see the power of AI when it comes to doctors trying to keep up with everything that's changing in our healthcare and the pace of that. And I'm sure that you're able to tap into that through you guys, evolving of your applications. Hadi, we came here not necessarily to talk about the platform and the medical technologies that you guys specialize in, but to talk about your team specifically, and to be able to get to 4,000 people, to be able to get to this level of growth where you're now a publicly traded company. What do you think has been the key as it relates to your team?
So I think let's go back and look at it historically. That how did we started and what we were trying to accomplish at that time. So as I mentioned, the company the CareCloud was founded in 1999. The vision was the transforming the revenue cycle management industry in the healthcare sector. And in order for us to focus on 1 to 5 doctor medical practices, we had to provide a very cost-effective solution, which is an integrated end-to-end comprehensive solution for those practices. For us to accomplish that, and if we would have tried to do it everything at one location on the USA, it would have been a very complicated or difficult task for us to accomplish. So we started with an idea of that we need to be we need to establish our presence globally from the different places of the world where we can leverage those resources and in a much more cost-effective way. On one side, it gives an access to a more and more skilled resources at a larger scale, and on the other side, there are certain tasks that can be performed by the employees from the place where it can be done in a much more cost-effective way. So I think this is how we started growing. This is how the presence between the offshore and onshore was established. And today we have about 600, 700 employees in the USA and about 3,500 plus employees offshore or globally.
When we were doing some research on your company, and you don't get to 4,000 employees and the level of growth that you have without the right recruiting and retaining. Let's look at what you know about recruiting to create a company of this size. What are the keys to recruiting that you guys have discovered?
Right. Yeah, I think if you just for a moment, Gene, maybe it might make more sense to zoom out a little bit. If we go back, let's say 30 years, we could we have imagined, as an example, a phone calls of a company in the USA answered from India or Pakistan or similar other countries? Have we ever imagined like giants such as Microsoft leveraging IT engineers from same countries or for the development of their software products, or Apple using workforce in China to make certain parts of their products, or even assembly lines? So I think the world today, which is driven largely by advancements in technology, has become inextricably interconnected across distances and other boundaries. And there have been a lot of the books, a lot of the different publications. And if you may have remembered the book called "The World Is Flat," it was by Thomas Friedman. I think this book was published in 2005, and he talked about how the world has become a level playing field, because now the individual sitting anywhere can interact with other individuals sitting in any other part of the world. So in the same case, if you think about the pandemic, what pandemic has brought to our lives, many employees today are still working from home, connecting virtually. That means that the person can be sitting in a home in the USA or any other part of the world, that the world doesn't make a difference. So in terms of the hiring of those employees, yes, because of our presence in different locations of the world, we have an access to larger employee base. If we cannot find an employee in the US, there is a probability we may be able to find more number of employees in Pakistan, or our presence in Sri Lanka, or even in India if we need to. So I think this geographical distribution always helped us employ more and more people from the different locations.
Totally agree with that. And it's great that you guys are able to leverage that. But what have you discovered about recruiting that you feel like is kind of your secret weapon?
Right. I think a couple of things. One is, and if we believe there is a requirement. If we look at it in a different way, the culture for global workforce, the challenges, motivating factor, needs, differences, it differs region by region. Though some fundamentals always remain the same, such as being compensated fairly, incentives, and career opportunities. We try to run an MBO organizations. There are incentives aligned for achieving those goals, and that always keep the team motivated and going. A significant part of our incentive plan today is based on restricted stock units, or the shares of the company. In simple words, on achieving goals of organization, publicly tradable shares are given to the employees at different levels. If organization keep on hitting objectives, it will have a positive impact on the stock value, and so it would be for the employees. So that help us create other an attraction for the employees they are joining the company feeling more part of the family, have a sense of more ownership where they can excel in their career. If we talk about the offshore employees, keeping in view the challenges and the requirement of that area, there's a lot of unique things we have done time to time, and the thesis was to take care of the employees and help them in their day-to-day life challenges, and they will work like it's their own company. Many times those developing countries, as an example, are hit by very high inflation rates, as an example. So I can share just one example. We started a food store a couple of years back, and we kept it for a number of years, where we were providing those food staple items in Pakistan during the very high inflation timeframes. We can fix the price at the beginning of the year, and it's 50% of the market rate, and there's no change at those food store items until the end of the year, where the review of the compensation, the salary comes in. So we were able to take such many of those measures at that part of the world of the region, keeping in view the problems, the challenges and the needs of the employees in those regions. So we took care of the employees, and they stayed committed and kept performing.
I want to ask you one final question about recruiting. When you think about a talented workforce that you guys are hiring, is there any specific element of the process that you have realized works better for the recruiting of talented people?
I think one is giving them the career path, and when it comes to the tools, we, let's say, established our first career portal of the company itself, primarily offshore, because the number of the employees that we had to hire was very higher in the offshore offices versus the US. In the US, it could be LinkedIn campaigns, it could be job portals, job ads, it could be some recruiting firms which can help us hire the employees. But in the globally, if you're talking about the Sri Lanka or Pakistan, in addition to these ways, it's a referral base. It could even be that we, in many cases, we conducted walk-in interviews. We published the ads in the newspapers and the digital media, and we're able to get hundreds of employees ready to be interviewed. So in the countries, because of like Pakistan and Sri Lanka, the unemployment rates are comparatively higher. So because of which, for if there is a one job available, you will be able to find hundreds of applicants, which you can interview and shortlist and find the right resources. So I think it's a combination of all of the right tools to be used, the attractive salary packages, the incentives that can be given, and giving them some work and life balance, and taking care of the employees.
Now, just a few minutes ago, he was talking about recruiting. One of the things I've known and seen across all of my clients is you want to recruit the best people. When you hire the best people, you are really changing the game as it relates to how people engage together, how they process, how they innovate, how they overcome challenges. When you hire mid-tier employees, you're going to have to pull them along a lot more, and it's going to take a lot more attention. Now, I'm not saying that sometimes this doesn't happen. It does happen. But what I am saying is have the intention to hire the best. I've done a number of interviews here on the podcast about the importance of hiring the best. When I hire people for my team, I am looking to hire the best. I'm paying top tier. I'm going to support them, and I'm going to make sure that we hire the best. That's the way we have grown and scaled our company. And I'm suggesting that you look at that as well for you as well. Now back to Hadi. So I love the fact that you talk about this aspect for recruiting, because it's probably very similar for the retention of this. But what other elements in what you've learned about retaining top talent in a global workforce that you could share with us?
Sure. I think it's some of the things that I mentioned you earlier, how you can make the employees feel that they have some ownership stake in the companies, giving them the freedom of taking the decisions, as an example, helping them trying new things, and giving them the freedom to make mistakes. This is a very important factor, because when employees are confident that in all good faith, if they have taken decision, and even if that is proven to be wrong, they would still be encouraged. So they can make mistakes, understand the mistakes, fix their mistakes, and keep moving on. And this helps drives even innovation and out of the box thinking for the company, and help us retain the employees. So the stock option is always have been proven to be a very good retention methodologies for us. And we go at a much down at the level and on the organization chart. Typically in the public company space, or most of the company, they try to stick to the most senior or the 1 or 2 levels down. For us, we go to multiple levels down to help to offer them the stock compensations, which can help them stay with the company for a longer time frames.
I want to bring us home today with this concept, or question, if you will. Hadi, what about your leadership style allows you to retain and to recruit the right talent?
One is, it's just, if I need to summarize, one is when you say the leadership style. First of all, whether it's personally myself or with the rest of my management team, we always need to lead by examples. We cannot keep on asking the employees to be doing certain things that we cannot do as a management team by ourselves. Second thing is giving the freedom of, as I mentioned, of making the mistakes. If they have an idea, we need to support the employees to take that idea and try to bring them to reality. In that process, they may end up making the mistakes, and that the decision might have been, or that idea might prove to be completely wrong. But then we can support them, and the same idea can further be refined, and the employees can, and the process will never stop. So I think this is what I say, that encourage the employees, management by objectives, define the goals, and help them accomplish those goals, and compensate them fairly, create a culture in the organization where they feel that they are part of the family, the part of the company, and part of the owners to say for the company.
Now, one last commentary here. Hadi's just talking about leading by example. A lot of times the founders are the ones that have to be, called to task, if you will, for not leading by example. They will say, do what I say, not what I do. Well, they don't actually say that, but that's the mode at which they run. But I also say this happens sometimes at our director levels and managers. We're not really leading by example. For example, you want to empower people. Well, you may be doing a pretty good job with that, but are your managers truly leading by example in all aspects of their job? It's just a question I propose to you to let you, think about and let it sink in, so that you can optimize your workforce. You can coach them up, coach them out if you need to, but you really want to make sure that everyone is leading by example, not just the top tiers of the company, but throughout the organization. Back to Hadi. That's a very good summary of the recruiting and retaining the global workforce. I want to ask you one more question. What's next for you guys? Like, you've already done the stock ownership, you've done this thing. What are you focused on to keep the retention of the right people and recruiting the right people as your company continues to grow and scale?
I think the next era for the next probably five years, once again, is going to bring a lot of innovations because of the AI, the way the whole world has started to think about AI after this most recent launch of ChatGPT. So many jobs that exist today may not exist in the next 10 years, and many jobs that doesn't exist today probably will exist in the next 10 years. So I think the one, we need to just be creative and look at how we can hire the next level of talent, the next level of the employees who can help us keep driving the organization in the era of this AI. In the same way, I am sure the means of recruiting the people will evolve. At the same time, how we can leverage more and more AI into the back office processes or within the organization, which can help the employees perform certain tasks much more effectively, so they can focus on the bigger things.
Excellent. Hadi, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Gene.
Fantastic interview. I love talking about ownership and having that tool available to you. Now, I also specialize in working with companies that don't have the ability to give stock ownership, or they really create that sense of ownership with financial terms. They do it because they have a better leadership capabilities. All you have to do is check out some of the work we have at genehammett.com. Schedule a call with me if you're interested to talk some of the details of how we can support you with executive coaching or leadership development. Those are the core functions that we provide our clients, and we'd love to help you. When you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, live with courage. We'll see you next time.